All right, welcome. Today we're going to talk about something really useful. We're talking about how to make some tutoring groups by breaking down our test results in Aware. And the second part of this is going to be merging letters for parent notices. If you want, you can check out after part one, just so you know how to analyze things through Aware. But part two is also going to be a big time saver for you because it's going to make those letters for you automatically based on a database that we're going to make using Aware as well. So this is something that's going to be a huge time saver. You shouldn't be chunking through your Aware results to figure out whether or not you should send a kid to tutoring. There's a much more automated way you can do that, and this will be how you do that. So the first thing you need to do is go ahead and sign into Aware. So you just go to your uplifteducation.schoolobjects.com and click the Aware tab. And at the very top, you should be brought to Analyze View right away. The view that you're probably used to looking at is the one that looks like this, where you have the CFA averages for each campus or each teacher, and then you'll see how you did as a campus based on the given content. But this really isn't that useful for a teacher to inform instruction. This gives you an idea of how you did performing to other schools, which might be nice for your vanity, but it really doesn't help you teach your kids. So what we'll have to do is create a new data view because none of these views that we have saved for us already are particularly useful for us. We're going to click Create a New Data View, and this is going to bring us to a wizard where we step-by-step decide how to make a data view that's useful. So what I want to know for making my tutoring group is how did everyone perform on various strands, so or groups of TEKs, or however they set up your test. And this is going to be a way to find out that information. So click Next, and then right into the selector. So this is most recent CFA, and I'm going to do this on 7th grade, and do current year, and science. So I have two exams here. I have the constructor response and multiple choice questions. So I'm going to want to know how they did on those multiple choice questions rather than something else. Oh, I want to make sure this is a current year. I want to look at the multiple choice questions rather than constructor response, just because constructor response there's a little more variables at play. Multiple choice probably a little bit more reliable to assess those questions. You're going to have several instances of looking at the same strand examined by different questions, where the CR you might only have one question that looks at that strand just because it's a little shorter. May not be true for all tests. And these are the results you can use. The district averages is what you're used to seeing. Campus averages would show you in-house, so in our school, Uplift Luna, how we did. Obviously, this would be pretty much the same information. And the teacher averages, this is probably the most useless out of all. It's grouping kids by their advisor, which I'm not really sure what you do with that. So let's find out where these kids were when they administered the test. I want to look at their percent score, know how they did by objectives and categories, that's important, and also by TEKs and student expectations. This last one, showing the item responses, this could be useful to find out where things went wrong. So if you notice that you only have a 20% on a question, you might want to look into this and find out why. So this could be a good way to find out where your kids went wrong. If everyone chose the wrong answer, F, but because that word looked very similar to another, then you could think, oh, so this is a vocabulary issue. We need to teach vocabulary a little bit more better, and some test taking skills around that, eliminating answer choices. Or if there's something more that those wrong answer choices could elucidate, this would be a good option. But for the most part, this won't be useful for making tutoring groups, but I'll keep it on there just to show you what it looks like. And this last one, this is if you want to turn on these indicators of gender and others, other parts that might be useful, maybe not. Depends if you're setting up tutoring groups or you've been told that this is an important thing to track. Let's leave that blank for now. And we're done. So when I click View My Report, it's going to give you my information. I'm going to bring this off just because I think it's going to give me some individuals' names. Don't want to communicate that through a public video. And sure enough, we're good. Okay, so right to the left here, it's showing the ID number, so I'm going to keep that off the screen along with the scholar names. And this is the information that we hope to get. So if you notice, these are the individual questions running all the way to the right on that multiple choice test. So here we have all the answer choices. The highlighted ones, I'm assuming, are the correct answer choices. The ones that are not highlighted are wrong. Or no, maybe the opposite. Yeah, that'd be the opposite. The ones that are highlighted are wrong. So with this, you can tell lots of kids picked C for whatever reason on this question, number 17. So that might be worth investigating. Why did they pick C instead of the right answer choice A? Looks like there's also a plus sign next to all the right answers. So I'm scrolling over just a little slowly because I don't want to copy anyone's name onto the sheet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean this up in Excel. So I want to make sure this looks a little bit more usable. Aware is nice to show me these views, but it really isn't going to give me anything too interesting here. So what I'm going to do, or excuse me, too useful I should say, is I'm going to highlight everything, just Control A, then I'm going to copy it, then I'm going to open up Excel. So I have a new Excel workbook, and I'm just going to choose the first cell here, A1, and I'm going to copy and paste all that information into there, keeping it off the screen halfway just because I know some names are going to populate. Now what I've only copied and pasted, you have to be careful because based on the size of your class, this could produce all of your results or these could produce only part of them. With this test, there are 2 pages I can see down at the bottom, right underneath the stack of names. So it's off the screen, unfortunately. But I can see there's another view here. There's 2 pages worth of information. But for the time being, I am done with Aware. So I'm just going to close Aware this time, just to keep my screen nice and clean. And now I have all of my scholars and their test scores in this workbook. So I'm just going to clean up their scores really quickly here off screen and replace those names with something that won't get me in trouble if I show it on the screen. So I'm just copying and pasting some other names onto that workbook just so I maintain confidentiality. So now if you notice in what was in column B was the student IDs, those are cleared, and the names that were in column A are also cleared out. This is just to protect confidentiality a little bit better. And the only thing that I really want to keep here is going to be this information of how they scored on these strands. So 712C should be the first one. Just make sure that this agrees with what's in Aware. So just double check yourself to make sure that these copied and pasted correctly. Make sure that the first one, 7212B, is 100, 75, 75. Once you have the confidence that this copied and pasted correctly, go ahead and use it. This information that's off to the side about these individual questions, not really useful for me to make my tutoring group, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Take this all the way off to the side. And I'm going to delete it right away. And this is already looking a lot more manageable. Now I'm going to copy these, the names of the standards, and I'm going to copy the names. All I'm doing here is just cleaning up this data one more time to make this just a little bit more useful. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put that onto a new sheet. And actually, I think I might want to go, yeah, that looks okay. So this will be, this says the scores this individual had on a group of questions based on the standard. Now these standards right now probably aren't that useful for me. I want to have some more information here. So now let's start giving these names that are going to be a little bit more useful. So replace 712 with whatever the tutoring session for that is going to be called. So maybe that was a group of questions that talked about light and lasers. Maybe this next one was one about earth and rocks. Maybe this next one was about wind energy. Obviously these are just really random. I'm just trying to think of what these could be associated with. Scientific method for this one. Try to keep these titles in as simple terminology as possible because you will be communicating these to parents. And 712C, I'm looking to find out that's about amphibians. Is it? Not sure how to spell that. Amphibians? I don't know. We'll just call them lizards instead. And next one was about snakes, and this one was about bears. So these are the scientific categories or the groups of questions. All these questions are about bears, and we can see how the kids did on those. And we see these, some of these are 50%, some of these are 75. So right now I need to make the decision of where do I set my threshold for tutoring? Do I want to tutor people that are better than 75%, better than 50%, or what? Best place for guidance for that is probably going to be one of our deans, Michael, or one of the directors. They'll probably be able to give you better information about how to do that. So I'm going to keep this screen and I'm going to copy it over. So I've cleaned up quite a bit of information already. And this should be the last time I need to copy and paste anything. And I'm going to go over one more, and I've copied and pasted that over. Now I'm going to start applying some logic tests. So instead of 100% here, I'm going to apply a logical standard. What I want to have is Homer Simpson, and then I need to have the list of all the things that he needs to go to. If he doesn't need to go anything, I want to leave it blank. So I'm going to do is put in a logical test here. I'm going to want to use an if tester. So an if test basically gives you something to test. So I want to know this based on this standard, based on is it greater than or less than this value in this cell. Do this if that's true. Do this if it's false, if that test doesn't work, or if that test turns out to be not true. So that we'll just separate three pieces of information with 2 commas in here. And this is our logic test. If we do it right now, it'll come up with 0%. And the logical test that we want to set up here is going to depend on the cells that we just looked at. So I want to look at sheet 2 and Homer Simpson right here. If Homer Simpson right here, I'm going to set my threshold at 75%. So if Homer Simpson is greater than, or excuse me, less than, also my tutoring group set everyone below rather than accelerated tutoring. Anyone below 75%, which of course you know is 0.75, I want to get the name of this group, which is light and lasers. I wanted to type that in for me. Put that into quotes so it doesn't try to run another formula. And if this fails, so if I find out that Homer Simpson did better than 75%, I don't want to have any information there. He's good. So I don't need to group him into tutoring. So I'm just going to put 2 quotes, and I'll press enter. And on sheet 3, we see that this test has ran and nothing showed up. So when I go back to sheet 2, I should see, yeah, definitely better than 75%, so that checked out. All right, now I'll copy this formula all the way down. So remember, I'm looking at light and lasers. And we copy this all the way down. So anyone that has less than 75, like in cell 3B and 4B, Marge and Bart, they should have tutoring. So here we see anyone less than 75. So if you remember, I actually put less than, not less than or equal to. So if I want to include those 75s, I made a mistake there, I need to put this at 76 or something like that. So if I change this to 76, Bart should populate here, Marge should populate here. And it worked. So if you want to set your threshold at 76 and get those 75s in there too, just make that adjustment. But I decided to use less than 75 as my threshold, and I'll keep that true here. All right, so now I'm going to write this formula over here, and I'm going to use something very similar. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over. But if you notice, Excel is very intelligent. When it does this, it adjusts your formula. So here it had a B, and here, when you moved it over, it thought you wanted to move this to a C. But really, I want to still look at this information that's in this cell on that sheet. So it should say sheet 2, C2, and that information, of course, is going to come from this cell right here. So it's good. So Excel is going to do this already for us. But we don't want to send them to light and lasers. We want to send them to earth and rocks, the tutoring for that session. And we'll do the same thing of copy and pasting that down. And now let's double check. So here we see that one of the, so Crazy Cat Lady apparently should be going to tutoring in cell 39. Let's just double check. Number 39, yeah, definitely less than 75%. So Crazy Cat Lady, you should be going to the Earth and Rocks tutoring, and this test has been reliable. So I'm going to do the same thing over here for all these other cells. I'm just going to copy this over for all of these. And I'll have to adjust these one by one to make sure it's calling them to the right session. So for example, this needs to be wind energy. This needs to be scientific method. It should be lizards, snakes, pressing enter after each time. And this last category was bears. Okay, so now I just have to make sure this populate downward. So I'm going to copy that again and paste it downward. Each time I move down a row, Excel will adjust my formula based on that row. So for example, go from A2 to B2, or excuse me, A2 to A3 and so on. Copy and paste. We're going to do the same thing here. Wind energy, looks like that one is something we need to work on. All right, lizards. Oh, I can actually save some time here by just copy and pasting by group, I think. A little too early in the morning to be thinking. Yes, and it worked. So this tells me if I look at one strand, so for example, the happy little elves should be going to the tutoring for light and lasers. They should go to the tutoring for earth and rocks, wind energy, lizards, and so on. So here I have all my information. This so far is really good for me. This is going to be really useful now for me to start making some more information. So now, or excuse me, some letters automatically. So this is the first part. So this is basically the first part where we talked about just getting that information set of who we should send to tutoring. The second part will be adding this to a database. So I'm going to save this file. When I'm saving a Word Excel file, this is actually going to make a database we can use with the mail merge. So I'm going to call this Science Sci Tutoring CFA 2. And I'll save that to my desktop for now. And now what I'll do is I'll open up my Word document, and now I'm going to prepare to merge these two. So in Word, when you merge a document, what you're doing is you're combining a Word document with any database. So this could be on a website, this could be something that you made in a different database software, but we're going to be using this for all done in Word and Excel, just using Office. If you notice, there's parts of this that have kid, kid, kid. I'm going to replace all those with names. Here I'll pop in the tutoring sessions and the dates for those. So for example, I might want to include some more information in my database just to make this easier, just to make this one strand. So I'll combine these. I think that'll make this easier if I could just combine those two. And delete these cells. So I'm doing is I'm just getting this ready for that information to be dumped into here. So I'm going to clean up that. I'm going to add just a little bit more information to that. So I'm going to include not only the name of the tutoring, but also a date. So I'm going to name this on 1/7. It will be this tutoring date. This one will be on, so I'm actually writing it in here. This tutoring will be on the next one. This will be on the next date. and lizards. And just make sure all those look like what I want. Lizards on. Yeah, so now when I dump these into there, it'll show not only the name of the tutoring session, but also the date. So I'll just copy these over one last time. Okay, so now it just shows a little bit more information here. Okay, so now I'm going to dump some information in here. This should be really fast at this point. So if you need any more help with mail merge, of course you can consult some other sources. You notice that I'm doing this on Word that's been managed for Mac, but you could. It's a very similar process. So I'm going to do on a Mac is I'm going to go to Tools and Mail Merge Manager. For you working on a different computer, if you're working on a Windows machine, you should go to Mailings at the top. But you can look that up on your own or just follow along here and get an idea for it. So here we're going to select our document type. I'm going to merge formula letters. That looks good. We're going to make our database here. So I want to open a data source and just want to make sure my data has been saved here before I move ahead. So that's saved. And now I'm going to open that up. So I left that on my desktop and I called it Sci Tutoring something. There it is. And you need to say OK. And I'm going to be working off of sheet 3 in this workbook. And my cell range, you could define that if you want, but I'll just leave that blank for the time being and figure it out later. Okay, so in our Excel document, there we go. In our Excel document, I didn't give a title for this one, so I'll do that now. Just call that name, so it shows up a little bit cleaner. Save it. I'll just do that merge step one more time of getting my data source. I'm just going to open the same thing again. And it's going to populate this information for me after I select the correct sheet. So now I have name here rather than that other information. So note I'm actually copying into there. So here all you do is you just click and drag these. So I want this to be the name of the kid here. Delete this other information. And now I'm going to populate those other things in here. So I mentioned the name here again. Then I have the name here. And I don't think I mentioned the name anywhere else, but I'll need to do the same thing on this side for the one version that's written in Spanish. And here it looks like it translated kid to little goat. Okay, so here I have lots of information. And now I'll start moving in that tutoring session. So the types of tutoring sessions we could be sending them to. We'd send them to light and lasers. We could send them to earth and rocks. We could send them to wind energy. I'm just going to do this for all of these. Okay, so those are all my possible tutoring sessions I could send them to. And right now I'm pretty much done with this. If I want to filter any recipients, pull anyone out that I know has left or didn't complete their test or something but the results showed up, I could do that. And now I can actually merge this. So when I merge, it's going to send it to the printer. I'm not going to print it. I'm actually going to instead just go to PDF. And so we're going to see what this looks like in a PDF. And here are all my pages. Remember, it's going to be double because we have 2 of these. And here we go. So Homer Simpson's parents are going to get this. They're going to see Guardians of Homer Simpson. So here we have the name mentioned here. And here we have the tutoring sessions that we should go to and the date. If you want to make this look a little bit cleaner, you could just adjust your chart here. So it's just the table options. So this is just your table properties that you change. So if you want to change the borders to none on these, and the borders here to none as well. That might make it just look a little bit more classy, but not really that important. And if I run these to print, do the same thing again. And I just want to show you what this looks like so it doesn't have a table left over. It looks a little bit less canned, but it's okay. So here I have all my kids' names, and this will be for every single kid that met that criteria. So here we see all the names of the kids and what they need to go to. And so if you notice, the names of the sessions for some of these are blank. So Francesca, obviously the smart French girl doesn't have to go to anything, but most of these people have at least one. Okay, so that was a very thorough, thanks for hanging in with me, and tutorial on how to make tutoring groups through AWARE. Part 1, analyzing those results, and Part 2, merging those letters for parent notices. I hope this was helpful for you. If not, please reach out if you need any assistance with this as well. Thanks. Have a great day.